Welcome, everybody. I'm honored to be here. Honestly, honored to be amongst all of you folks that actually do teach and do the work. I'm super honored to be here, and I thank you for being here today too. One of the things first thing I want to say up front and foremost, I know that Josh had sent out an email talking about the subject matter that we're going to talk about today. It is a dark topic. I do want to put that out there first and foremost. I also want everybody in the room to understand and know that if there's something that we approach or talk about or get into and you're like, I don't really like this, I don't feel comfortable, I don't really want to be in my seat right now, this is totally laid back. If you need to get up and you need to go outside and walk out of the room and maybe go get some fresh air outside, do it. By all means, do it. This isn't a required class from the academy. It's not like I'm going to fill out an F6, I know you don't know what that is, and put your name on it, right? It doesn't matter. My point is, I don't care. The other thing I want to encourage you, I was just telling Chris, which I'll let him introduce himself here in a second, I really enjoy teaching to this group and talking amongst you. It's not really teaching, it's more facilitation because we have a discussion, because you ask phenomenal questions. Because all of you deal with students all day long and you're like, I wish they'd ask me a question, so none of you are afraid to ask questions. And that's what I would encourage today. If there's something that we come across today in the material and you're like, I want to know more about that, please ask. Please interrupt me. Feel free to interrupt me at any point in time. I teach law enforcement and military primarily. That's all I do all day long, every single day. Do you think I'm used to being interrupted by type A people? Constantly. They constantly interrupt me. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. So I don't want to brush over something and miss somebody's questions because your questions are really good. We've gone over a few of them. The goal today, real quick, is we want to just rehash or talk about some of the civilian response stuff that we went over in convocation last year. Hopefully your convocation went well yesterday. I wasn't able to go to that. But we want to just kind of touch on some of those topics and then address any questions you might have. Also, Josh and I went around and did basically like a quasi-threat assessment of every building, and we talked amongst you in your working environments. That's been a little while ago now. So if you've had some time to think about that, you have specific questions on that, I'll be here after class. Please feel free to come up and talk to myself or Chris, and we can hopefully answer your questions or any apprehension you have on that. So again, dark topic. If you need to excuse yourself, you're more than welcome to. I will tell you, I've had special forces operators on different types of trainings and videos that we've watched that are like, I can't watch this, I'm out. Not a big deal. Like, we all have our cup, and sometimes it's overflowed. So if you don't know me, my name is Ben Klecker. I work for the Police Academy, DPSST, the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. I am the Southern Oregon Regional Training Coordinator, meaning I have 7 counties that I'm responsible for delivering training to. So I just go to those counties, but I actually work all over the state of Oregon. And I teach a lot of defensive tactics, firearms, building searches, active shooter, traffic stops, all of it. The only thing I don't do is I don't teach driver training because I don't trust any of the new cops. I don't want to get in a car with them. So yes, we have had a car rolled at the academy. So I don't do that, but the rest of it I do teach. Prior to that, I worked for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office in Newport, Oregon. I was over on the coast. I worked patrol, and before that, I worked in the jail. I also do teach in the private sector. I just got back. I was telling the IS guys, because we have a technical difficulty here. That's why we don't have the screen. We have something broken. I literally just had this same thing happen in Microsoft, of all places, at the Redmond campus. I was teaching up there, and they're like, our machine's broken. I'm like, how is that possible? You're Microsoft. Like, shouldn't you have it right here? So anyway, we have this single screen here. I will encourage you to, if you need to get up and move around. I don't like sitting for a long time. Feel free to do that as well. Is that fair? Okay. That's me in a nutshell. I'm going to let Chris introduce himself because he's new here on campus.
I am. I'm the new guy. So I think I've met a majority of you guys. So I'm Chris Zupan. I work for the Sheriff's Office. I took over Shane's spot as the SRO here at KCC. I may be new to the Sheriff's Office, but I'm not new to the career. So I've spent 27, almost 28 years in law enforcement. Had about every job you can have in law enforcement, from minor SWAT guy to top kind of running operations, to detective sergeant, working dope, working detective. So my knowledge is there. So I'm not quite the teacher Ben is. I'm a cop, so I'm
That's not
learning.
true.
I'm learning to teach a little bit better. I have taught defensive tactics, firearms, stuff like that. So we'll get through this. And at one point during this next hour, we are going to fire some blank shots off outside. So like Ben said, if this is something that's going to be traumatic to you, you feel that you're going to have an issue with it, like no big deal, just get up, go somewhere else where it's not going to bother you. But we do want you to understand what gunshots sound like within and outside of a building, so that if something were to happen here, it's not going to be the very first time that you've heard it. You'll understand what that sound is like. So that's me. Any questions before we get going?
Do you know where Chris is located on campus? Where? Building 3. We're both over there. We're both in Building 3. So, yes.
How do we get you on speed dial, like on our mobiles?
911.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what
Great
I
question.
I carry a radio. Some people here have my work cell phone number, but the fastest response is to call 911, and they'll radio me. Oftentimes, I could be somewhere else. I'm not always on campus, so I will try to spend the majority of my time on campus. However, I also oversee the detective division at the sheriff's office, so I get called by those detectives sometimes and have to go help them, Sprague River, Bly, Beatty. So it's always more beneficial just call 911. If it's a non-emergency or something that doesn't have to be immediate, yeah, you can reach out, call my office phone. I think you guys all have my office phone somewhere on your directory. And I'll get my cell phone, my work cell phone number out there as well.
It's the same number that Shane had for his office number.
There you go.
But call 911 if there's an emergency.
Yep.
And if you notice, if you spend any time in our office, we have a radio in our office. So like I was just listening to a foot pursuit this morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we have a radio. So if you call 911 and one of us is in there, we're listening to it in real time. Really good question.
Yeah, so like if there's not an emergency, but there's drug use on campus, you see somebody lighting up in the parking lot or whatever, I don't know how to, where's that line?
Give me a call. If it's an emergency and you need cops here now, like call 911. If it's something like, hey, this is becoming a problem, we need to talk to you, yeah, give me a call on my desk phone. Josh knows how to get a hold of me. So.
Any other questions? That's a really good question. Thank you for starting off with good questions. Yeah.
I believe that your extension rings to your cell phone, right?
I don't know. I might need to talk to the tech guys because that's above my capabilities.
That's how it was with Shane. If you called the
I don't think it does yet.
It would forward to his cell phone.
I would say
Yeah.
no because I've got missed calls on my desk phone and it's never rang to my other phone. So I'll check
Are
into that.
you guys able to hear these questions over there? Just out of curiosity. Okay, I want to make sure because she's asking if the phone forwarded automatically to a cell phone. So
Just so you guys know, I generally work Monday through Thursday from 7 in the morning till 5 at night. So I won't be on campus a lot of Fridays. Starting after next week, I'm going to be gone next week for a conference. I'm going to probably work a few weeks of 8s, so I'll be here till 4 every day, but 5 days a week. Once students get settled in and people get a little bit more used to seeing me around, I'll probably go back to Monday to Thursday.
and I'm going to try to be on campus more because I am sick of going to Salem. So I'm going to try to be on campus more. I promise you that. So good. Any other questions before we get going? Okay, so just real quick before we start off and dive into this, because I don't want to go through the entire PowerPoint. That's really, really boring. What do we recall from the last training? Like, I didn't think he was going to ask me questions. What do we recall when we went through the civilian response to active shooter training? What are some of the takeaways that you remember from that?
Incidents are increasing.
Incidents are increasing. Yes. Okay. Yeah, very good. What else?
The tendency to freeze.
Yes. Yeah. And how do we combat that? She said the tendency to freeze. How do we combat that? What were some of the strategies we talked about?
Assess a room when we get into it.
Yeah.
Assess the space.
Good. Jason's saying we're going to assess a room when we get in there. Okay. So if we walk into this room, what's a really quick assessment about this room? There's 2 doors. Okay. What else?
Windows.
We've got windows. Why is that important? Yeah, potentially that's an exit. If we get barricaded in here, we've got an exit. Awesome. Good, good, good. What's another takeaway? Give me one more. Yes.
There was one shooting that happened in the church. I remember you showed us, and the first reaction of somebody was, "It has to be firecrackers because it couldn't possibly be
Yeah.
this." So
Sutherland Springs Baptist Church shooting in Texas, Sutherland Springs, Texas. She's saying there was one shooting where somebody was trying to justify in their brain. Remember we talked about that? That's not really a shooting, that's firecrackers. Why did that happen?
They hadn't heard shots.
They just hadn't heard it, right? They're going through that Rolodex in their mind, like, where does this fit? Gunshot doesn't make sense at church. We don't have guns at church. Firecrackers, maybe somebody's setting off fire. It's your brain trying to justify that.
Well, most people don't think it can happen to them.
Right.
100%.
Yep, absolutely. She said most people don't think that can happen to them.
And I think that it's important to know that it even applies to people who go to the gun range or who have heard shots before, or, that because the context is so different,
Yes.
that even if you're familiar with the sound, my first instinct would not necessarily be that's a gunshot, even if I'm familiar.
Yes, absolutely. And not having a realistic idea of how you will actually respond when the stimulus occurs. That's really common. How many times have you had to shove somebody through the threshold of a door?
Many.
I wouldn't freeze, and then all of a sudden get in there, right? And those are people that train it all the time, and and I have officers still to this day that will call me. Had one a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why I froze. Well, let's talk about it. Let's think about what happened. So, really good points. What else? Anything else we want to talk about first?
Good.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Escape, hide, confront.
What's that? Say that again.
Escape, hide, confront.
Escape, hide, confront. Really close. Avoid, deny, defend. Right? Avoid, deny, defend. I like it though. I like yours
Pretty cool,
too.
yeah.
I like it. That's awesome. Yeah. Avoid, deny, defend. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was really hoping that somebody would bring that up because that's like the crux of this training. When we're talking avoid, deny, defend, it's in that order, right? Do we understand that? First and foremost, if I can avoid all of this altogether, I'm out. I'm going to avoid this. I don't want to be here, right? We walk into, there was the video, and we're not going to go over the videos today, we don't have time, but there was the video of the armed robbery in the store. And if you remember, there were some people that walked in there and they're like, nope, not doing that, and walked straight out. Is there anything wrong with that tactic? Not at all. There's nothing wrong with that tactic. Get in your car, go. But if we can't avoid it, then we end up in that deny phase. And somebody tell me about deny. What does deny mean? Yes, I like that. You're paying attention?
Maybe we could talk about that again.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah, she's saying that we could use a piece of fire hose on those, on these little exit wings here. I'm going to go off here. Using a piece of fire hose, sliding it over that so the door can't open, right? And remember, you have a bunch of fire hose in Building 10. I'm not the one who makes the decision on where that goes. So don't use my name if you go over there and try to start cutting some. Please don't do that. It's hard to cut too. But yeah, so deny. We're trying to deny access completely, okay? What are some other key components though? Because deny is really easy to just say, but what are some other key components to deny? If we're locking down in a room, what else are we thinking about? Yeah. Okay, stay away from windows. What else could potentially make noise? You're saying this side over here, they're saying stay away from the windows, turn off the lights, lock the door, all of that. Okay, we have somebody over here said turn off your phone. What's that?
Turn off the vibrate.
Turn off the vibrate, okay, yeah. All good, all really, really good points. Anything else we need to be thinking about?
One of the things that stood out to me was the success certain people had in laying on their backs on the floors, how they got really creative in securing doors in different situations that I would have never thought of.
Yeah, Kent State or Virginia Tech, right? Virginia Tech case, yeah, in Norris Hall. Yep.
Well, and even if you block the door, you still want more, you want as many barricades as you can. So you want to be behind a table, you want to hide, don't want to assume that your first defense is going to work.
Right, yeah, because it may not, okay? And then this is always a good conversation or discussion to have as well. What's the difference between cover and concealment? Why does that matter?
Concealment will not protect you.
Good.
Right?
How so? Yeah, you're right.
Cover is less penetrable, right? Is that the concept?
Right, what is cover?
Like a wall or protection. Yeah, a desk or
An engine block.
Okay, yeah, I love it. Just throw it out there. Yes, absolutely. Why though? What is the specific difference? Cover stops rounds, right? Cover stops rounds, concealment does not. So I always shudder when we talk about walls. Okay, maybe, depending on the round, CMU blocks, some concrete, maybe some rebar, maybe some concrete in between those blocks. Maybe, right? This one, but if we're talking drywall, metal studs, that sort of thing, not stopping much, right? The other thing to remember, cover is perishable. The longer we stay behind it, we shoot stuff all the time, right? Cover's perishable. Good. Okay, so when we go through some of this stuff, we're going to talk about active attacks. Do you remember why we talk more about active attack versus active shooter? Why?
And knives and people are using other things.
Yes, we need to think outside the box, okay? Because we get locked into this active shooter mindset and it's always a gun. And it's not always a gun, is it? We talked about a couple of cases that UC Santa Barbara where it was knife, car, gun. The Home Depot truck in New York City, that was all vehicle. That was a truck. Can anybody think of any other ones?
In Wyoming Street had a crossbow.
A crossbow. Okay, I had not heard that one.
Hear that one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's trying to keep that mindset open of there's other attacks, there's other things available. What are active attacks defined as? If you had to give it a definition, what is it defined as?
The intent to kill.
Okay, yes, and add a little bit more to it though. What's their real goal?
As many as possible.
Which does what? Somebody said it over here. Fear. Fear and terror. They want to instill fear and terror into the community like that. And for a lot of them, they want to go down with it and they want to be infamous about it. Remember, I talked at the end of the presentation, and this is a pretty big deal now, that no law enforcement, we train all of our law enforcement admin and our PIOs now, we don't mention the person's name. You'll hear them referred to as coward or all of that. We don't talk about their name. We don't want to give them that infamy, okay? What are some other things? And this is really what I want to focus on because a lot of you are so close with your students here, right? When I teach in the CJ program, my students, yes, they want to talk about work, but every once in a while they're like, hey, I'm missing something. Something's going on at home. And it's like, okay, yeah, you are really close with your students, which means you may have opportunities or you may hear something or see something that's alarming. What do we do with that? What's that?
Report a concern.
Report a concern, okay, yeah. What are some things you could be looking for? What are some things you've heard in the media that some of these folks have done prior to their attacks? Social media, okay. I love how you guys are just like cops, you throw out buzzwords. Give me a little bit more though, I love it. Social media, how so though?
They indicate they're going to do something.
Okay, yeah, they start talking about their plan maybe, right? We talked about the UC Santa Barbara one, he actually broadcasted that on YouTube and had a 37-page manifesto. Like, that's excessive. And the hardest part for me, I'm going to be real honest with you, because we look at all of these. We have to analyze these and go through the case studies ad nauseum, and the Academy sends email after email after email on this stuff, and we're constantly consuming it. It's not good. It's pretty dark. But when you look at it, the glaringly obvious thing to me is, after the fact, how many people come forward and say, yeah, I knew something was up. I knew something was off with that person, right? That's a problem. So we always recommend, and we always use that comfortable saying of, if you see something, say something, right? We don't want to forget about it and just, I'm not going to worry about that one. So what are some other things or behaviors that you might be looking for? Social media posts, absolutely. What else? Yes?
Like retreating from coming to school or retreating from coming to work on time or having a major life event for a student would be a warrant for concern.
Right. And for you over there, if you didn't hear her, she's saying retreating from coming to school, retreating from activities, all of that. Absolutely. What are some other ones? That's a really good one, by the way. What are some other ones? Okay, yeah. And sometimes is that pretty glaringly obvious? Sometimes, but not always, right? Not always. It could be a subtle sort of thing that comes on. I'm sure many of you have had that student that all of a sudden is going down this path and then all of a sudden they're just a different person. They're just a different student, right? And we got to be brave enough to have some of those conversations with them because that's part of what we do. That's just part of our job. Chris, you want to talk about that?
About what?
Any of the signs
No,
or?
they nailed it. I mean,
Okay,
all their
perfect.
questions were good.
All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the definition. So the definition of an active attack event is basically just somebody trying to compile as many people as possible. We already talked about that, to try to attempt to create terror or fear in a community. That's what we look at. The only exceptions to these is if it's tied back to a gang-related shooting. Then we don't look at it as an active attack. That's not defined as that. So when you saw that pretty slide where, and I won't run you through it today, but where it starts showing all the active attacks that have happened, none of those are done to gang violence. None of those are gang violence related.
Really quickly.
Yes.
You have a lot of new people, so if there's stuff between last year that you think would be good to put up here, I
Sure.
would put it up.
Okay.
Because they haven't seen it.
Yeah, we're going to go through pretty much everything just at a faster pace.
Gotcha.
So, yep, we will try to. But I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so why is this troubling to us when we start talking about profiling an attacker and we read this? Why is this troubling?
There isn't one.
Yeah. So what does that mean for us?
Less indicators.
Yeah. Keep your eyes open, keep your mind open. And it goes on a little bit further. Some of the risk factors. This is another one that I look at this, and what do we think when we first look at this?
So prevalent applies to a lot of people. One of them applies to a lot of people.
Right. It's very broad, right? And I don't like it either. I look at this stuff and I'm like, but I want one thing. Give me one thing that will help me pinpoint these folks. And we're not getting it. We just don't get it. And that's not comforting, but it is good for us to know this. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you go back? So yes, it's talking about risk factors, the history of violence, exposure to violence, substance abuse dependence, mental illness, and a history of suicidal, right? That's broad, really broad. And then it goes on further and talks about some of the behaviors: stalking, harassing, or threatening behavior, negative family dynamics or support system, isolation and instability, and others are concerned. Meaning there are other people in their circle are concerned, right? I know some of you have probably had that, where you've had, two really good friends in a class and like, hey, I'm kind of concerned about my friend here, and here's why, right? So just things to think about. Let's skip that one. You can just buzz through that quick because there we go. Perfect. Let's go back one, Chris. There we go. Okay, so do we remember this? Was this shocking to anyone? Did anyone look at that and go, that doesn't look right?
I was surprised so much happened in commerce, yeah.
Yes. Why? Why do you think that is?
Media probably, because we don't, I don't know, maybe that's just the way it's framed.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. Yes.
What is commerce?
Commerce, like your areas of business, your Walmart, places where people go to work every day. It's not, I always think business when I see this one, because that's basically what it is. It's places of work. Most people would assume education because of exactly what you're saying, because of what we cover in the media, because those are the horrific ones. Sandy Hook, Columbine, all of those. We think of those. And even the Aurora, Colorado shooter. Do you remember that one in the theater? That's terrifying. All of us go to movies with our family and kids and loved ones. That's absolutely terrifying. So those are the ones, that is a place of commerce though. The schools are the ones that get the most attention, but that's not necessarily the case of where these occur. Why do you think it would be places of business?
More people, more victims.
More people, more victims. Why else? Vengeance, right? Maybe they just got laid off, let go.
Accessibility.
What's that?
Accessibility.
Accessibility, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you worked there and you're upset, you know where everything is, right? I always tell folks, I used to be the Eastern Oregon coordinator, and one of the things that was new to me when I got over there is I didn't realize they had an active shooter way back in the 80s in Baker City, Oregon, at the post office. They literally had the postmaster was in an active shooter situation. It was a kind of a relationship triangle deal where somebody ended up showing up there and taking it out on the people that worked there. Not well known, but if you look it up, they did have one there at their postal building. Okay, let's keep going. You guys are doing great. This is concerning too. So for you over here, this slide, it's basically showing a pie and it's half and half, red and green. And it's telling you that the attacker's connection to whoever they're going after, it's about 55% of them, they had a connection to that person. 45% no connection, right? That's concerning as well. But also, if you think about some of these school shootings that are occurring, again, if we go back to what their goal is, it's not necessarily they're mad at the school, they're mad at the kids, that sort of thing. They're just mad at the world in general, and I'm going to show you how angry I am. And they want that infamy. They want to just terrorize the community. Why is this important? Go ahead.
Oh, do you have
I'm
something?
gonna say it was a violent temper tantrum.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
As a grown adult, yeah.
Yeah. I like how you make that simplistic. Thank you. What do we think of this quote here?
Can you read it for?
Yes, I'm sorry. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Yeah. We're trying to. And again, I always say, and I didn't say it up front of this class, but I usually do. I really wish this was a topic we didn't have to talk about. I really wish this was a topic we didn't have to teach, because it's not a fun one. It's not fun for me. I don't enjoy this. So let's breeze through some of these real quick again. Chris, you got the numbers there. We can stop on Pulse Nightclub. Do you remember the Pulse Nightclub? We talked about that one. What were some of the things you remember about that case study?
Was that the one that was the fire?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
There was 49 people killed. Most of them were in the bathroom. I lived in Florida at the time.
Okay.
Dang.
It was pretty horrendous. It overwhelmed the two facilities, the medical facilities that were near like Orlando Regional.
Yes.
They just were totally, because it was a couple of blocks away. Most of the people went private vehicle and were taken, like it wasn't, they were proximal, so that it actually resulted in, and I forgot to mention this last year because we talked about it last year, but it resulted in some changes to laws to protect first responders and police and EMS, because they were so traumatized at what they found when they went in the bath in there. One of the stories that made it through was that one of the eeriest things was everybody's cell phone going off when people went in to investigate, because the word got out in the community, and because it got out in the community, people were then calling the people they thought would be there. And
Yep.
so when the first responders and police and the EMS, whatever, came in there, all they heard were these phones going off.
Yeah.
It was just this awful thing. But a lot of people had retreated to the bathroom, which didn't have
Right.
another mode of exit. What else was there that it was just it hit everybody in that community,
Yeah.
and it's still to this day. It still hurts a lot, and most people were like, either they knew somebody that was there, or if you lived in Florida and were active in the LGBT community, you were one degree of separation away because you knew somebody who died.
Sure.
Even living in Sarasota, one of our Sarasota people was killed there. The youngest girl that was killed there was only 18. She just graduated from high school, and they went there just to dance. And I held her banner at a memorial when we did a walk afterwards. So it was everybody from grandmas, and it was straight people, queer people. It was everybody. It was not somewhere you thought you'd be unsafe, just like the church.
Right.
We were talking about. Like,
Right.
It's not a place you thought would be affected. But
Yeah, I remember you bringing this up last time. I'm so grateful that you were here to share that with everyone. Thank you so much for that, because that was a really, really bad situation. I do want to highlight, too, the individual that was in the back room that actually saved a ton of people here, because he was able to think outside the box and said, I can break this door down, break through this wall, and we're leaving. And this is a civilian that saved a ton of people. I can't remember the number of lives that he saved on this one, but it was incredible. It's a great example of what all of us are capable of if we're able to, in these stressful times, think outside the box and just move, right? Any questions on this one? Anything before we move on? Okay. Las Vegas. Anybody remember this one? I was there the week prior to this at a police training. The week prior to this for Vegas Metro. What are some of the takeaways? Let's just talk about the takeaways. We kind of know. Does anybody not know what happened at this music festival? Does anybody not remember? Okay, I just don't want to rehash a bunch of this stuff if we don't have to, because some of it's not fun to go over. What were some of the takeaways about this one? What was a problem with this one? Yes?
A lot of bad information.
A lot of bad information, yes. Do you remember what some of the bad information was?
They thought the shooter was in the concert, was down the street, they heard the gunshots, what, a mile away or something like
Yep.
that? Thought that the guns were somewhere else?
Yep. Yeah, they actually initially, because I know quite a few people that responded to this, because I used to live in Vegas and train law enforcement down there too. They initially thought there was 4 shooters from 4 towers. That's what their initial thought was, like, oh no, this is a crossfire. There's 4 people in 4 different towers. And they literally dispatched to a bunch of different towers, which was not good. What else is really bad about this one?
No cover.
Yeah, no cover, nowhere to go. Folks that were hit by rounds ended up, if anybody knows Las Vegas, they ended up way over by McCarran Airport, spilling off onto roadways, running. And we talk about this one a lot with our law enforcement folks because we want them to understand if some of these things occur outside, it's not unusual for people to just run and go, whether they're injured or not. The same thing happened at the Aurora, Colorado shooting where so many people were spilling out of the exits. They were literally hitting the parking lot and running and going. And you had law enforcement chasing them down, right? Chasing them down. No, we're here to help, that sort of thing. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's really actually pretty important here because you've got a large campus here, right? Is it unreasonable to think that if something, heaven forbid, were to happen here, could we find people running out in the field? Could we have students running out to the path out here? You know, yes, absolutely we could. Yes. So we need to be mindful of that. New York City, we talked about this one already. This one's on here mainly to just get you to think outside the box. Yes, sir.
And the running is like they're wounded and running,
Yes, potentially. Vegas, they were. They actually had people that were shot and had ran 6 or 7, 8 blocks before they actually were stopped and rendered aid to. Aurora, Colorado, they didn't get very far because by the time law enforcement got there, you should see that. I wish I had the aerial picture of it. There are cop cars everywhere, like literally everywhere. Nobody was going anywhere. And so much so that fire couldn't even actually get a fire truck in there, which is also a takeaway for us to train on our side. Like, hey, we can't just clog everything up, right?
A huge problem.
We want to, but
in the past. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. So New York City, just thinking outside the box, vehicles, right? Could that be a concern here? Is that something you could be concerned about? Yes. Okay. Do we have large outdoor events with a lot of people out in a grassy area? Right? Okay. So yeah, be thinking about some of these things. If this were to happen, what would I do? Where would I go? How could I help? How would I respond? How would I react? And again, I have to pause here for a second. We have to remember when we're talking about a lot of this stuff, our goal is not to become hypervigilant like Chris and I, right? I don't want you walking down the hall slicing every single pie around a corner. We don't want that. But we think about these things. If this were to happen, could I just do this? And then we put it away. The idea of scripting, when we talked about scripting last time, is we can react and do things faster because we've been there. I think I shared a story with you. We run what's called evolutions at the academy with our new law enforcement, and we put them in really, really bad situations. Your gun's out, threat's gun's out, your hand's on the gun, their hand's on your gun, 1, 2, 3, fix it, like we were just talking about EOs yesterday. And it pressure tests them. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to shooting debriefs where I've talked to the officer, and they're like, I was actually successful because I'd already been there before. I'd been there in training. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't think about my reload. I didn't think about moving to cover. I didn't think about any of that because I'd already been there in training. That's the idea with scripting. When we're walking around and we think about these things, we take ourselves there for a second, then we put it away. We don't live in that world. Does everybody understand what I'm trying to say here? It's really important because we don't want that. I don't want you slicing the pie in sherms. Okay, let's not do that.
And like you said, we don't want you to be hyper vigilant like we are. But the more you think about and process this stuff, the better you're going to react if and when something happens. So it doesn't just concern you here at this school, but just when you're out in public, when you're going to the movies, when you're in a restaurant, just briefly think about, what would I do in this situation? What would happen here? The more you process this, the better you will react if this were ever to happen. And you can be a person, I've seen it in cops a million times, who is the most solid cop out there, kicking doors, doing all this, but when these events happen, they freeze. And you never know how you're going to react in those situations until you've been there.
Yep.
I've seen guys who I never wanted to get in a street fight with that I was a cop with, but when crap hit the fan, I was shocked on how well they handled it, how well they did their job during those times. So you can think you're that guy or gal, and you may not be. Or you could think that you're not, and you don't ever want to be in that because you don't think you would be able to handle it. And you may be the one leading that classroom going, hey, we need to do this. I remember talking about this. You need to go over there. You need to do that. So each and every one of you could be the leader in that classroom, male, female, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Chris. Also, natural disasters. We talked about that a little bit last time, right? That it applies in the same situation. We want to talk about natural disasters. We should be thinking about that. If I had a massive earthquake right now, what could I do? What do I need to do for my students? That sort of thing. By the way, this is kind of fun. I don't know how many of you ever like go to your class and you're like, who read the assignment last week? And the class is like, nobody. Did anybody read Amanda Ripley's Unthinkable? Did anybody read that? Good. If you haven't, I encourage you to read it. Another one that you may like, really, it's an older book now. It's been around in law enforcement forever, is The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. If you haven't read that, this is a really good book. Jason, if you want to just borrow it, you can. If you haven't read that, that's another excellent resource to read. But that Unthinkable by Amanda Ripley, she talks a lot about scripting. And she specifically took case studies, specific ones. And I love that she did the 9/11. I love that she did that because she really dove in deep into analyzing why people did the freezing stuff. And it's fascinating. And it is on Audible because I'm an Audible person. I drive all over the state, so I listen to burn through books all the time. It is on Audible and it's incredible. Because a few of the people that they interview for 9/11, you're just like, why would you do that? But then you think about it, you're like, no, that's your habit. That's what you do every day. You go to your computer, you shut it off, you grab these things, and you think to yourself, that's crazy. You just saw an airplane fly into your building, but they've never taken themselves there before. So it makes sense. Sutherland Springs, this is the one where we were talking about trying to make it fit. The gentleman that I talked to, I actually got to meet the youth pastor as well as the responding officer, the first officer that was there at an alert conference in Colorado years ago. And the gentleman that was the youth pastor is the one that was sitting in the pew right by the door. And he was the one that said, I heard the gunshots go off, and I kept thinking to myself, how rude, because the pastor was in his sermon, how rude is it for you to be setting off firecrackers while the pastor's up here giving a sermon? It's really rude, because that's where his brain went. It doesn't make sense for gunshots. And he said the weirdest, because I actually went and had lunch with him, great guy. He said the weirdest thing that he recalls is, he goes, you would think that when I looked at the large oak double doors and I see pinholes of light coming through, I would have figured it out. But he said, I didn't. I kept thinking, what kind of firecrackers have shrapnel like that? And he said, it wasn't until both doors burst in and I saw the rifle that I thought, oh no. And then he went up, and we know what these traditional churches are laid out like, right? You walk in, giant middle aisle, there's aisles on the side, and there's pews, right? Every single person got up, turned, went to the side, and they all got bottlenecked along the side, okay? And it's just, they had never thought about it. And the saddest thing about that layout, you don't have to go back. The saddest thing about that layout is, on the side, there is an exit, right? So people actually passed an exit where they could have gone outside. Why did that happen? It's not where they normally leave. Yep. Good. Excellent.
We got a cruise.
What's that?
We get a cruise.
Yep, we do got a cruise.
Good.
It's fine. We're good. We'll get through what we can. Okay, this slide is just basically talking about the number of deaths depends on a couple of things. Mainly, it depends on how fast law enforcement arrives. That's about the gist of this. Go ahead. So how quickly law enforcement arrives and then target availability. Obviously, like somebody mentioned, you were mentioning Virginia Tech. Some people made themselves really, really hard to find. They were not accessible. And one of the professors that if you get a chance, look him up, is an absolute hero because he blocked the door with his body and saved all of his students, said, go out the window. They said, we're on the second floor. He goes, I don't care, go out the window. And he saved every single student, but he did pay with his life. 3 minutes, Chris, I'm gonna let you take over here. What's response time here?
It can absolute vary here. OSP usually stays in town. City police is in the city. It's gonna take them a good 8 minutes. County can be anywhere from 1 minute to a half an hour, depending on. But we did have an incident at Ponderosa a few years back, and I would say there was 20 cops there within about 5 minutes. And I was one of the first on scene, and it took me about a minute and a half to get there. So the one thing when something like this happens, you're going to get all administrators, everybody's going to start heading this way. So even if all our deputies are out east or up north, you're still going to have myself, Shane, Mike, Steve, and anybody else that's in the office heading this way. So time from there running code is about probably 2 minutes.
Yeah, good. And
But
the
what
KU
you will-
one you just had too. There was
Yeah.
a boatload of you guys at KU
Yep, we
right
had a
away.
shooting outside of KU a couple years ago, and again, there was probably 15 cops there within 2-3 minutes. You'll start seeing BLM, Forest Service cops, guys that you didn't even know had law enforcement, Merrill, Malin, everybody will start responding. I was shocked at Ponderosa the amount of people that showed up to that. So
My wife even decided to show up there and park right on the evidence.
yes, yes. I had to tell us what.
Say that again for those.
So we had a shooting at KU, not student involved, totally a random. It was parents, and as soon as it occurred, a SUV pulls in lot, parks. Lady gets out, takes off. Prior to us getting it sealed, lo and behold, it's Ben's wife. So I got it when we were done with the scene. I got to call Ben at 3 a.m. and say, "Hey, you can come get your car now."
Yep. Well, and she actually, it's funny because she ended up talking to Shane because we've known Shane forever. Shane's family to us, and she says to him like, "There's like a cell phone on the ground," and Chris is like, "You're not getting your car back for a long time." Like, why, honey? She is a magnet for that stuff. Okay, so we'll move on. So disaster response. So this is, again, if you haven't read that book, I really encourage you to read Amanda Ripley's book. It's really good. It will get you in the mindset of thinking outside the box. She does a really good job, but it just basically talks about why we respond the way that we do when disaster hits. So if we keep going, the 3 stages of disaster, what do we have? Denial, deliberation, decisive moment. Okay, I'm done talking. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? You see that, and for you over there, it says 3 stages of disaster response. There's denial, deliberation, and decisive moment. What does that mean?
This can't be happening, and then you think about it, and then you have to decide, what am I gonna do? Is this right? Is this happening or not?
Yeah, we deny it, then we give some thought to it, and then we make that decision. Okay, can we speed this up?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me back up. I don't want to go there yet. How long do people stay in denial for? Yeah, it really does depend, doesn't it? Has anybody ever had this happen to you? Have you ever saw something, you're just like, whoa, what in the world? Yeah, it's. I won't ask you to share, but it does happen. It's fairly common. I still remember a time way before law enforcement when I had a person drop dead at a gym I used to work at when I was a fitness instructor, just falls on the ground, and I'm like, what do I do? And I remember that feeling of one of the gals that I worked with going, get an AED, and shoving me. I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing, right? But I didn't think that was gonna happen. I didn't think that was gonna happen to me. So I totally get it. So how do we speed that up? How do we speed this up? Yes, sir.
After your training last year, we have offices on the 2nd floor, and we heard gunshots.
Okay.
And we, a couple of us went downstairs to take a look at what was going on, and we had a student who was tipping the vending machine. So boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
We went through, now we go into denial, but at the time it was, we've heard about active shooter training, we better go to,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Good. And is there anything wrong with making that decision going forth and it's wrong? No. It's better to do something than to not do something, right? Okay. Go ahead. Let's leave that up there for a second. I wish I could turn this for you. We don't need to watch this. You remember this one? This is the person in the suit that's laying down on the ground. Yep, it's the social proof. We don't have time for that. Oh, yes. We did talk about human brain and lizard brain. So what does this mean to you? I know you remember this. Y'all are smart people here. What's the difference between our human brain and our lizard brain?
Human brain thinks, lizard brain reacts.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Anybody else a different definition? Spot on, but what else?
Well, we're analyzing things versus fight or
Right. That's a very good way to put it. Yep. Yep. Our human brain, we've got the time to think about, did I pay that bill? Did I do this? Did I do that? And lizard brain is now. Something happens now. This is how we respond. Big part about this, big takeaway that we try to talk to about our law enforcement and some of our military folks as well is you can actually train your response. And that's something that people are like, nah, you can't really do that. You can. And it has to do with that scripting. Chris knows what I'm talking about when it comes to, when you stop a car and you walk up to a car, do you not run scenarios through your head once in a while and go, okay, what if this person jumps out of the car right now? What are my options, right? It's that free training moment where we just kind of run ourselves through a scenario. Just like we talked about with all of you. If I hear bang, 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 like you had talked about, what are my options right now? And it's not hearing the bang, bang, bang. It's just you running yourself through that really quick scenario. If I hear this, what can I do? Same like Chris just said, if you're walking in somewhere to a restaurant or wherever you are, taking that split second, assessing what are my options here, and then going and sitting down. Because, and I watch this next time you go out to a restaurant, watch how many people walk into a restaurant with their kids like this on their cell phone, like, where am I sitting? Okay, cool. They sit down, and then the kids have phones out, they have phones out. How situationally aware do you think that person is? They're not. And so we're trying to get people out of that habit. Just put that phone down just for a little bit, assess, and then move on. Let it go, move on. Okay, good. And Jason, you already talked about that up front. Good. Go ahead. Stress response. We talked about this. This is that graph that shows beats per minute and the different color ranges of it. So, you're 60 beats per minute. Basically, you're doing nothing, just sitting around, maybe grading some papers. Nothing's raising your interest, anything like that. 90, 120, 150, 175. Where do you think you start losing some fine motor skills at? Yeah, it's not as high as you think. I've had cops that are like, oh, I don't lose mine until 175. I'm like, yeah, right? No, it's low. 90 to 120, absolutely. For some people, just completely sideways. I give the example of firearms instructors don't typically like to do physical activity. That's why they're firearms instructors. Sorry, I'm not picking on you. He's a DT instructor too, so I can say this. I'm a firearms instructor as well. But they don't like doing the physical activity. They want to just point, click, shoot all day long on a line. The problem I have with that type of training and that thought process is when you have somebody pointing another gun at you, do you think you're calm, cool, point, click, shoot, standing in one spot? I can tell you, you're not. You have a gun pointed at you, your heart rate goes from whatever it was to this, right? Really quickly. Now all those skills of you being on the range and getting thousands of reps of drawing and presenting, they're out the window. Because now you got to do it under stress load. And people are like, well, you could just replicate that with physical training. Kind of, but this is a psychological response, going from 60 to 175. Me getting on a track or a bike and running, that's different. That's a different response. So this is where we will see people draw their gun and throw their gun. Like, why did I throw my gun? Because you've never been there before. Go ahead.
So I had an experience earlier in the summertime with an automobile accident here that kind of occurred on campus.
Okay.
And it occurred right in front of me. Like, denial was there, like, I can't believe these people are going to hit each other. And then, oh my goodness, I got to move my car out of the, like, not get in the way. And then pulled over, and I get out of the car, and of course, where law enforcement is not there yet.
Yep.
And I'm like, I know I need to call 911, but like the act of calling 911 was hard.
Right.
Because my blood pressure, I mean, it like, and I knew what I needed to do. I was able to get to that point, pull over and get out of the car and sit down and kind of get myself down to be able to have a conversation to say, what do you need to do to report? What's going on? Here's my side of the situation. And because I was not involved. But
yeah.
It was the same experience of what you're saying in a more realistic, what happens sometimes on a day-to-day experience.
Yeah.
Not everybody has accidents, but that's more tangible than I think in what that feels like in regards to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're nailing it.
Yeah.
Because generally people who do things that are very adrenaline oriented can react quicker. Mm-hmm. So for us who go to calls all the time, fights, disturbances, stuff that our adrenaline's up here, what it takes for us to get our adrenaline up anymore is way more than someone who doesn't see traumatic stuff all the time. You know, so.
Just to add that, I mean, I was the first person to call. They hadn't had anybody else call. That wasn't the reaction when there were 5 people in line experiencing this accident.
Yeah.
So just know that it's normal, but I just knew that I had to call. Like,
Yeah.
this was serious. And law enforcement was there, like, immediately, because the fire station's just down there. And
Sure.
you guys, but yeah, it was.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that does capture exactly what I'm talking about. Like, that's spot on perfect. Thank you very much. Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, along the lines of that, I've been both in wrecks by myself and wrecks with other people, and I've noticed that if I'm by myself, I tend to panic more. But if I have somebody with me that's panicking, I'm able to calm down.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody else has been that type of situation.
Sure.
If somebody's more high extreme, I don't know, it just offsets and allows me to go, okay, I need to breathe because they can't handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great examples. Thank you so much. We're not going to go through this video. Do you remember that video, what that was all about? Yeah, the gal getting her child out of the car seat. She's done it 1,000 times, and then it takes forever because the stress level's high. Station nightclub fire. What was the takeaway on this one? Do we remember?
The fire, the smoke.
They didn't know the exit. They didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't know where the exits are, and what exit did they go to? The one they knew. And there was an exit right by the stage. Yes.
Herd mentality.
Herd mentality.
That way.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. And no thinking outside the box, right? Because there were windows. They did eventually break the windows out, but it were these right here. They did end up breaking some of those, but it was far after the fact and late. So anyway, we'll go through that. We'll pass that.
Always do it for the kitchen if you're in a restaurant.
Yeah, why?
Because there's always an exit door.
Almost always there in building code, there is an exit out of a kitchen, okay? You know, it's funny, I always look for that exception now. For years, I've always been like, I wonder if there's no exit out of that. And usually it holds true.
And there's weapons and fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
Always.
That's true too.
Just saying.
That's true too. I like where your head's at, Chris. All right. So again, deliberation, we're just real quick, scripting, remember that's what we talked about, just running yourself through that quick practice. You can do that, it's free, you can do it at any time, go ahead. We talked about Rick Rescola. This is kind of, he was the hero in the Twin Towers. He's the one that actually went above and beyond. You read about him in the book, Unthinkable. They do a really good job of covering him. He made his people train to a different degree. He's like, nope, you're doing the stairs, I don't care. And he saved thousands of people's lives. We don't need to watch this video. This is the train. Remember the train in France moment? What allowed them to be successful? Because think about that situation. Does everybody remember that train takeover, the train takeover in Paris? Okay, so let's just go back real quick. I've got some notes on here. Basically, a train gets hijacked, and there's 3 friends. All of them are military guys, and they make a decision to go after the person and tackle them. Why did that work? Training, okay, they have training for sure. That does help. What else?
The attacker didn't expect anyone to fight back.
Bingo, right there. If you remember, we'll probably won't get to it, but if you remember the math teacher that was in Illinois, the shooting over there that ended up taking down the shooter and holding him on the ground, same thing. That shooter had no thought in their mind that a faculty member would ever approach them, let alone tackle them, take them to the ground and start controlling them. I did find out though, from talking to some other people, she does have a wrestling background, which I was like, that's pretty cool. But anyway, the reason this works is because somebody made a decision, went forward and just did it. And it got within the other person's decision-making loop. Because remember, even your people that are attacking, your folks that are carrying out this active attack, they have a plan too. And they assume that when they come into your building, we're good with this, they assume when they come into your building that nobody's gonna put up a fight with them. Nobody's gonna encounter them. Nobody's gonna come at them. Everybody's gonna run. The second somebody gets stuck in a hallway or whatever, and we talked about this a little bit, kind of posting by the door and waiting for this person to come through and then turning on them and taking the fight to them, a lot of times they will quit. They will give up. What do most of them do when law enforcement encounters them? They either, well, they can, but a lot of them end it themselves because they're cowards. They don't want a fight. They don't want to fight with any of you, okay? And that was the last little piece that talk about on the takeaway of this is that, you know, we always talk about not getting angry and not getting mad or, you know, being fearful, that sort of thing. If you can turn your fear into a little bit of an anger situation, like, how dare you come to my campus and try this with me? How dare you do this to my colleagues? That can help drive you forward. If you're thinking about, I don't know what I should do, get mad a little bit. Get a little bit angry at this person for doing this on KCC's campus. Let's move on to blanks.
Okay.
Because we're there.
Inside or outside?
Let me ask you
Or
this
both.
first. What's that?
Inside hallway, outside, or both?
Did we do blanks in here last time? Did we do blanks in this building? Yes. It was over there. I think we should do them inside.
Okay.
And let's have you go, and it's going to take him a little bit to set up, and then I'll give him the all clear. So if anybody wants to step out, you're like, I don't want to do this, I want to be gone, this is your time. If you have any comments or questions or anything you want to talk to me about, you're more than welcome to come back. You know where to find us. We'll be here in the afternoon. Please don't hesitate to come up and talk to me. I love this stuff, so I'll talk to you anyway. But Chris will set up down at the hall. I'll give him the go-ahead. If anybody wants to take off, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, give us a few minutes and we'll get set up for that. Okay? Any questions while Chris is getting set up?
Can we do both?
Can we do both?
Both, inside and outside.
Yeah,
So we can
yeah,
hear the
yep,
difference.
yeah. He's not going to be opposed to shooting blanks off, so. Can we do a cross
Thank you.
campus? Can we?
Well, I've often wondered, you know, your backfire. Cars on the highway or in the parking lot or whatever. I couldn't tell you the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally was just at a friend's house down here, and somebody had a backfire with their car. They were working on the exhaust system, and it boom, and both of us thought it was a gunshot. So we walked all the way over there and like, no, it's a car. I'm like, okay, thank you. So. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go check on Chris real quick. Sit tight for a second. I'm gonna go check on Chris.
Get behind you.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've heard it so many times.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the goal. Hopefully it helps. So.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love this.
You're like, I'm good.
I'm gonna get him going. You about ready?
Yep, I'm good.
They've all pretty much cleared out. So if you
Okay.
just want to go down there and just pop off a few, whatever you feel like, go for it.
I'll give you about 1 minute.
Okay. About 1 minute.
How's it going?
Good.
Might want to skedaddle or plug your ears, one of the two.
Good? You're good. Hey, Chris, do you mind going out here?
Yeah.
Outside and doing a few too, real quick?
Yeah, remind me to pick the casings up.
Well, maybe not real quick. Maybe don't run with it. I could see that going sideways. So he's going to go outside real quick and just do a few of them outside as well, just so you have the benefit of both. What's that? Oh, I know. Well, I swear Shane shot one in here when we were down here and it was upstairs. You couldn't hear it. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right, so Chris will set some up. He'll shoot some rounds, blanks off, not rounds, blanks outside, okay? And then we'll send you on your way. How are you doing? Good, good, yeah. Was your summer good? Did you get a summer? Or? I know you do, because I always see emails from you still. I'm like, she's working away. Okay, good. Here we go. Perfect. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for keeping your attention and being here today. I appreciate it. Have a great day.